Hi, I'm talking with Surat Balducci, the writer and director of Generation Lockdown. Hi, Surat.
Hi,
How are you doing?
great.
Are you all safe inside right now?
All safe inside, yes.
Okay. So tell me, I know this was a short story that was written. Tell me how the short story came to your attention.
Okay, so my friend, Flo Mitchell, who I've known for years, she and I started a foundation called the GiveFilm Foundation. But even regardless of that, she came to me in December 2017 with a short story that her son had wrote um, and brought home from school. And it was a two-page, basically a nightmare about going to school and being shot at by his teacher at school. And it was, and then at the end, he wakes up from the dream. And she was really upset about it. She was super upset. She was shocked. She didn't know, what to do. But she came to me to say, "Can we make a movie about this? Can we make a film?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we started working on it. I started working on sort of a preliminary ideas of like how to really take his story and adapt it so that it would make sense as a short film because it was a little violent. And I think then I was working on that in January, and then Parkland happened on February 14th of 2018. And so that just put it all into, like, we just went, dove right in, and I finished the script, and then we started to raise money for it. But so it really came from her, she came to me sort of in fear and shock and not knowing what to do. And then we said, let's make this into a film. And so that was how it came to me initially. And then Caleb is her son who wrote the story, and we decided that he would play himself in it. And so I worked with him, and and then we cast everybody else. But yeah, and it was a big challenge. I didn't know really how it was going to be working with young children around this subject matter. That was a challenge for sure because you just don't know going into it as a director, where they're going to be. But I can talk more about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So had Caleb done any acting before this, or was this his first time?
I think he did like a couple commercials and some light things. No, this was his first major um, acting role and
Hmm.
dramatic acting role. And and that was interesting. It was
Hmm.
really interesting because I think with kids, like the thing with kids is that they don't have a lot of experience no matter what. Like no matter what movie you're doing, when we cast films for other films, and we're looking for children or for young actors. I mean, they're just not going to have a lot of experience under their belt.
Hmm.
So I think every kid is different. Yeah.
Um, and I was curious, I mean, obviously the script you came up with after working on it for a while was different from the story he wrote. Did he feel any sense of ownership still when he was doing it, or was it almost just a totally different thing at that point for him?
I mean, I took the premise of a child being in a classroom and being afraid to go to school, being afraid that his teachers or the adults in that school would turn on him. There was a couple of those. I kept, the vision of the boots came back. At the end, he sees the boots. The boots were in his story, but all of the dream sequence in there, that was something that I added, and because I needed to create, I think it just needed to have a fantasy. It needed to be psychological. It was in his mind. And I just wanted to keep going with that idea. The dream idea is, sometimes contrived in a way. But in this way, it works because for me, because it gives us a moment, it gives us a breath of like relief that it was just a dream. But even though it's a dream for him, it's not a dream for kids because they really are going into school and they really are experiencing those those feelings. So, but I wanted to just take it as far as we could go. So that was something that I think was, I was just so happy that we pulled it together to be able to pull that off, because we had so many elements in play. Underwater camera operator, we had steady cam, we were shooting at night, we were putting him in the pool. We were, it was like, can I do this? Yes, we can keep going, and it was really amazing to pull together such an amazing crew to pull that off for a short film.
Right.
So I think it was worth it.
Right. Now, this is if I'm saw this right, you've produced a lot of films, but this is the first film you've directed, is that right?
This would be the first film that the first official short film that I've directed. Yeah, I've done a lot of video art over the years, and a lot of little documentaries I used to do in college. And so, but yeah, this is the first dramatic narrative. Yeah.
Okay. How was it being the director and choosing to work with so many kids the first time like that?
Well, the thing that I think helped me is I have 2 daughters, and I film them constantly. So I've always loved filming children, like just their faces, their expression, capturing things. So I would do that all the time personally anyway. I have all these films of my kids. So I was really comfortable being able to get them to do things, and I just knew that really didn't need a lot of dialogue. What I really needed was their expression and their emotion. And that's easier once you create the setting to get them there, because they are crouched in a corner in the school. They are hearing, noises. So we're creating that atmosphere so they could react very naturally. So I was really comfortable working with the kids. The one thing that I was afraid of was psychologically, how were they going to handle the material? And the surprise that I had, and really, we spoke to all the parents and everything, but the thing is that every parent and every kid that was involved in this was doing it for the cause. Like, the children themselves were like little, anti-gun violence kids. Like, they were like, they got it, and they were doing it for a reason, and they were doing it all together. It was, I don't know, it was really special. And it was really special to talk to the parents who were also behind the film for the message of the film. So, so we had everybody sort of in heart and mind, which was really, really a fantastic experience, and definitely daunting going in. We had a doctor on set. We had a pediatrician, and all the parents were there watching every shot as we were shooting. So we were very, very supported on set.
So let's talk about that. The whole issue of gun violence in the U.S. in general, but especially in the school system. And that's a big question. I think what's an interesting question right now that will probably be, I think some people will kind of have this question without articulating it, is now that everyone's in lockdown and I'm worried about my kids getting sick or bringing sickness home, and there's all these troubles. I think some people might even be wondering, is gun violence still an issue that we're worried about, or do we have bigger problems now? I'm wondering how you address something like that.
I think that the gun epidemic is only getting worse. And the film is about a school shooting, but it's also about the environment that our children are being raised in that you cannot avoid the fear of violence from the outside world on our children. Our children are not safe. Our children aren't safe in COVID. Our children are in another lockdown now. These kids, like, what are we putting them through as adults? And the idea is that our entire world is not recognizing that children are afraid. And This is a film about the psychology, the internal struggle and the psychology of a child. It's not about gun violence per se. It's about what they're going through. And I have so many parents who see the film, so many people who see the film and go, I had no idea that my kid, my son, daughter, niece, grandson was even going through anything like this. I wouldn't even think of it. And a lot of people, surprisingly, didn't even know that there are lockdowns in school.
Mm.
And that's, so it's really about the world, this film for me. It's not about just violence in school. I think what's happening now is the continuation of the of children, of children being put in danger and in fear. And I can't speak to the statistics right now, but I mean, you can turn on the TV any day and see that guns are out on the street, that people are going to protest with armed. So guns are not, nothing is getting better because they're not in school. In fact, I mean, just as a side note, it's, the irony is that under COVID, they talk about like, well, how are they going to do shooter lockdowns in school 6 feet apart? It's impossible. It's like, why do we have them in the first place? But it's impossible. So we're just piling it on our kids. Right. We're just piling it on.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about the GiveFilm Foundation, what its mission is, what your role in that is, if you don't mind.
So GiveFilm, I came up with GiveFilm many years ago because I got sick and tired of watching films that were about social causes or social issues that did nothing for people, that did nothing to, that filmmakers who are making films about socially relevant issues, wouldn't it be great if those films could then actually raise money and awareness for an organization that was doing something good in that area? So I think it was particularly the Slumdog Millionaire that I watched that I just said, I can't stand this, because those kids were actually from the slums and they were actually being used, and they were actually not, they didn't make much money, if at all, from that film. I thought, wouldn't it be great to have an organization that can bridge films, narrative films, not documentaries, because I think they already have a way to connect to organizations, but feature films. Mm-hmm. So you see a film, you're moved by it, and you want to do something. Mm-hmm. What could you do? You could donate, you could go to the website, you could, the film itself becomes a catalyst to raise money and awareness. And proceeds from that film would then go to the organization that it was connected to. So that's sort of the idea. So we're starting small, with GiveFilm right now, but yeah, that's the idea, is to bridge that. So if you feel, because I think films for me should activate you to want to get up and do something. That's the filmmakers made something that deeply moved you. The producers made something that deeply moved you. The financiers got involved in it. So why do we stop right there? Why don't we continue? So a movie like Room, or, World Trade Center, or any of these movies that could actually raise money and awareness for organizations, I think would be very impactful. And we have an opportunity in the feature film, in the film world, to do that. We have the audience, we have the phones, we can donate, we can, connect people now better than ever. And it would just be, I just think it's a powerful tool. And so that's GiveFilm's mission, is to bridge the gap.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So you're the founder?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I founded it, and then I founded it, and Flo Mitchell joined me, and Peggy Connolly joined a couple of years later. So we've been building this for a few years. Mm-hmm. So this was really, Generation Lockdown was our first film to kind of show how we can, how this would work.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
the film is gun neutral. You know, there's we you know, because this year was sort of interrupted,
Yes.
you know, the film had momentum, and we just finished it in December, but it had momentum, and now it feels like, you know, it's going to have its momentum again.
Mhm.
But right now everything's on pause. So you know, we had wanted to do much more sort of when we do screenings, we wanted to have more events that related to the screenings, to connect with other organizations on the local level. But we work very closely with a company called Stand with Parkland, and
Oh,
they're in our credits. Now, Stand with Parkland are all the parents from the Parkland tragedy, which was really, so all of the photos of all of those victims
mhm,
are real,
mhm.
and they were all sent to us with the permission of the, you know, the parents' permission or the guardian's permission. I just want to point that out because they were wonderful, and you know, we would love to raise awareness for what they're doing. They're doing some amazing work in Washington and lobbying and working with Congress. So, you know, they're very important in all of this as well down the line.
That's great. So this is not the first time that you've been part of a film that we've had here. Can you tell us about the previous film you were part of?
So I produced a movie called Roadie with Ron Eldard, Bobby Cannavale, and we shot. And Michael Cuesta was the director. Michael Cuesta is known for LIE and he did Homeland and Sherlock Holmes after we did Roadie. But he's amazing, and we shot that film many years ago, and yeah, it was terrific. It was a feature film that we shot in 3 weeks on Super 16, almost all in one location for about $500,000.
Mm.
And it was fantastic. And it was a great script, and you know, wonderful cast. And yeah, it was a real gem.
And that won our 2011 Jury Award for Best Film.
Yes.
I even found a picture of you online holding the award up.
Yeah, it's like my best picture.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah, it was
And
great.
and that's not your only connection with the Stoller Center or with Stony Brook University.
Yes.
Can you tell us what your other connection is?
So my father taught many years at Stony Brook. He taught Italian cinema, and he created and started the Italian Film Festival. That was an annual festival. So you know, so he's retired now, but so we're very fond of Stony Brook and know a few people there.